Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage, and today we're going to be having a look at MATIC. So let's get into it. So what I want to discuss before we jump into the micro counting here is the two potentials that I'm still looking for. In the bullish scenario, we're looking for this to potentially look to progress to the upside, looking for this to become either ABC or potentially a third wave if we do move high enough to this $3.06. So that's valid for as long as we actually hold this low point here of this 74.74, and it is still possible we could come down, but really if we do lose this 87.61, it becomes less likely that we're going to see this continuation. And what I'd like to see here, if we are looking for this C wave or this wave 3 to the upside, is to see this start to progress here and start to break out of these ranges and basically get back above this 157 area just for more confirmation. Until we actually do that, we need to be careful of the possibility to either drop back down here towards this 70 cents to this 4447. And if we do lose this low range here, basically we can still look for potential to drop down as low as the 17 cents. So that would be looking at this whole move as a potential B wave within this scenario. So obviously there's nothing, we don't have enough structure to indicate something like this to the downside. So for the time being, as long as we continue to hold the structure to the upside, I am going to continue to look for this to build. Though really we need to start to see this taking off and getting out of this zone where we've just been consolidating. And otherwise, what my fear is that we could even see this play out as an A wave. Potentially we get something like this as a bigger triangle, and then we'd still look to break to the downside. So invalidation of this would come by breaking back above this 24.97 or below this zone here of this 10258. And basically what we'd want to see here is to see if we consolidate. It is possible we could be forming a triangle in this zone. It's a bit too early to tell because basically what we'd want to see here is something like this: A, B, this is a C, possibly a back test of this trend line again, and then something like this if it is a bearish triangle in the opposite direction. What we'd want to see is something like this: A, B, C, D, and E. And then basically we'd look for another touch point on the bottom within this scenario before looking to break to the upside. So basically within this structure, what I'm looking out for is that the potential we could still look to push to the upside one more time. So I'm actually going to just turn off some of this stuff now. And within this, what we need to be on the lookout for is, like I said before in previous videos, for as long as we remain below this 140, $1.40, we need to just be careful of that potential to still look to break to the downside. So using this as a length and projecting it off of this current high here, we could technically move down as far as this 75.54 if this does become basically an A, a B, and then looking for the C wave to the downside. This would bring us into quite a, close proximity with this low here, and we'd have to then be careful because that would be basically, very deep a retracement if we are still looking for continuation to the upside where this becomes 1 and 2. Really, we don't want to lose this lower range here of this 87.41 if we do break down here one more time. So I've also listed some reductions of this. Basically, this 0.618 would be here at this 9154. 786 would be just below this at the 84.12 region. So this is why I've got these numbers on here, but we cannot rule out the idea of still having a breakdown here, especially if we don't start to follow through to the upside. If we do have this in a different manner here, I'm still looking for that possibility, and it's just a corrective structure here, potentially getting more complex. And I'd still look for that possibility of coming up towards this $1.35. However, if we do this in just a corrective move, then basically this would be indicating that we could still see this C wave play out to the downside. It might just be from higher up than we are currently measuring it. So we need to just be careful of this whole zone here, basically from this $1.40 to this $1.2158. It is possible that we could actually have this rather also as a W, an X, and potentially we're already starting this as a Y wave to the downside. But yeah, I mean, we just need to see what happens in this zone. If we start to break to the upside here and get above some key areas, which we're going to go through in a second, basically then we can look for this potential to actually start to trend to the upside, but we don't have that information yet, so we just need to be a little bit cautious about that fact. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on these two trend lines. Basically, this higher one here, looking at this from this top and just drawn this into here. Obviously, we only have 2 touch points on this, and this one is quite a new one, and we haven't really had much of a reaction away from it. So I'm just watching this to see how this actually reacts to the upside here. Alternatively, this could look to break this and get back above this high, which would invalidate that idea of a triangle, in which case I would still be looking towards this 135 area as a potential rejection zone. Another area of interest here would be this 131.22 to this 129.10. This would be the golden pocket here. And obviously, once again, if we do come back up into this 50% of this $1.2158, if we do push up here, that could be an important zone to keep an eye on. Okay, so now if we want to talk about bullish potential here, rather, and we're looking for a breakout, what we're looking for is that potential to count this move as a wave one, looking for this as a two, and really what we want to see is a nice strong move up towards this $1.61 area for confirmation. So that would take this high, that would get rid of some of the bearish scenarios that we've been through in this video and previous videos, but would need to see a move up above this. And how would this look if it plays out? So the way we'd have to start looking at this move is basically that we are looking at, some additional ones and twos within the structure here, and we'd be looking to actually break out towards the zone. So the primary zone that I'm looking for based off of our current structure would actually be a move up towards this $1.32. So that would be looking at this potentially as a one and a two, looking for this third wave up here, then looking for a fourth and a fifth, which could actually look to take us up into this higher range here. I'm just going to throw this onto there, put this onto this wave 4 low here, and then potentially it could lead us to a move up towards this $1.36 range to this $1.33. If we do get a move up into this zone, this would then be enough to basically move this third wave location up to here, and then we'd be looking for this to be a 1-2, looking for this as a whole move as a third wave here, looking for an additional fourth and then a fifth to the upside, and basically then we just have to factor in this additional 1 and 2 here from that point, and we'd be looking to target out this higher range here, this $1.6189. So this is what we'd be looking for this bullish count here. Really what we need to be careful of is any kind of a drop below this zone of this $1.10 would invalidate this possibility of this being another 1 and 2 here, and it would make the count very unlikely then at that point, unless this whole move here becomes a wave 2, which is still possible. But really, we don't want to lose this zone of this $1. If we lose this zone of this $1, it starts to become less likely that we have this playing out. So we need to be on the lookout. This could, like I said, come down here one more time for a C wave. And if we do look to find support above this low of this 94.34, what we should be then looking out for is that potential of 5-wave structure to the upside from that point. But yeah, I mean, it is possible we are building it now, so we're going to just have to be a little bit patient and see how the structures actually form out here and see how this, how it develops over time. But this is going to be a key target area, this 132. And what I want to see within the structure at the moment, this is looking very choppy and corrective within here. I mean, it is possible we could be setting up another 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we start to move away from this area. But really, and from this current structure that we have here, it is looking very corrective. And only really by having a move up above this $1.22 would I be looking to count this move in that way. For the time being, it does look a little bit like a triangle, but it would be very early because we don't have all the touch points. I'd be looking at something like this potentially playing out here, where this becomes our A wave down, this becomes A, B, C, D, E potentially, or we could actually have a smaller one here looking at it. If I just change these touch points and have this in the opposite direction rather as a B wave triangle, looking at this whole move as a B wave triangle, what we could then have is something like this playing out A, B, C, D, and then E, something like this. And this would then actually indicate, that we could see a sharp break to the downside coming up in the near future. So I have to keep an eye on this. If we do break up here and take take this high of this A wave here at this $1.18. Basically, what I'd then be looking for is the potential that this is the other way around. A, B, C, D, E, we've completed, and then we're looking to push to the upside. The problem is having a triangle here wouldn't really fit into that count, and as an impulse. And then what I'd be looking out for is the potential to come and possibly move up rather as a corrective move towards this $1.2677. So that would actually tie in a little bit with the bearish count where we're looking at this whole move as a B wave. If we do move up towards this 126.77, that would indicate to me that this whole move here is actually just a corrective structure and would actually basically look to be breaking down from that point. So this 126.77 is going to be an important area if we do just break up from this point, um, and we don't actually come down one more time, just based off of the structure here. I'm not really liking it, but we'll have to see exactly how the internals happen within that. But the most likely thing I'm expecting is still having an additional push to the downside here, potentially towards this zone of this $1.13 to this $1.10 area. So 1 to 1 of this as an A, B, and then looking for a C wave would actually bring us down towards this 13.25, $1.1325 area. So just going to be keeping an eye on this. Potentially we could still see a little bit more downside come into play here. It's possible this could be something like this as an A, come back up for a B, and then we get a C. And actually, this whole move is more a W, an X, and a Y to the downside. But it does look like there is potential for five-wave move here. So just got to be careful of this fact. So one thing I will be looking out for as well on this is if we do start to break down and take this $1.10 region, and we move past this $1.1015, what I would be looking out for would be to see if we actually get an additional fourth wave here, where this becomes 1, 2, 3 down into this trend line. We get a fourth, and then we get a fifth, and actually break to the downside like this. If we did get a five-wave move in this position, we'd have to be very careful, because what we could see is another three-wave move up and then continuation to the downside. So this is what we need to just be aware of when we see these moves and we start to see some structure that could be counted as a five-wave move. Need to just be a little bit cautious of that. But yeah, for the time being, it just does seem to be range bound here. I would like to see exactly how we break out from here. Um, like I said, potentially we could argue there's a 1, 2, 1 and then a W, X, and possibly a Y here. Really short Y wave though, if that's the case. And then, we could look for basically a five-wave move to the upside. But for more confirmation, I wouldn't want to lose this low here of this $1.1430. And I want to see a move up towards this zone of this 122, and then look for additional structure. Basically, what we'd want to see is something like this. If I just draw it on here, basically something like this: 1, 2, 3, fourth wave, which doesn't intersect this fifth wave to the upside, and then we'd have to add in this additional fourth and a fifth, and then basically we would have a five-wave move to the upside here. And then, from there, what we'd have to then do is watch the retracement again, because it wouldn't really fit into the count, in my opinion, just having it directly up here. It would have to move higher than this, for us to consider it a five-wave move. Typically speaking, that third wave would look to actually target out this zone of this 132.23. So, that's what we would ideally be looking for, is this higher target here of this 132.33. So bigger third wave up into this area. So this is the zone we're looking at. We need to see this follow through. If we don't follow through here, and we fail to, hit some of these key areas, this 122, I would still be looking out for this potential to drop back down here towards this $1.13 to this $1.10 region. So this is going to be our zone in the immediate short term here, looking for this potential, if we do break down. Alternatively, if we do break to the upside, want to see us hit this 122 and then see if we start to get additional fourth and fifth waves up here, get back above this high point here of this 124, and then start to progress within the next sequence of this move. Want to get up to this 132.33. Ideally, if we're looking at this as a 1-2 and then looking for a third wave, But as long as that doesn't develop, we just need to be careful of that corrective structure to the downside, which could indicate, like I said earlier, that potential to actually, come back down one more time and potentially even retest some of these lower ranges here towards this 87.61. But if it does break down even deeper than that, potentially we could see something like this where our actual one-to-one of this entire move to the downside would be towards the 75 cent range. So could mean that we come back into some of these lower ranges here. So we'll have to just monitor the structure and see how it goes, take it one step at a time. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you'll find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It is free to join. As well as that, you'll find affiliate links for both Primex BT and BYBIT down there, both great exchanges that we use on a regular basis. If you do not have an account using the affiliate link, does help support the channel, and we do appreciate it. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.